This is the Misdirected Mark Podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, and you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing.
Yes, let's get on with this thing. On the 244th episode of Misdirected Mark, we're going to be talking about...
Hey, I do the intro of the show.
Well, why can't I do it? I can read copy like anyone else.
Because it's the thing that I do.
Oh, all right, fine. You do it.
On this episode of the Misdirected Mark Podcast, we're going to talk about character niches, niche invasion, and protection.
Oh. Now it makes sense.
Totally makes sense.
Gotcha.
All right, so everybody, how's it going? And my name's Chris.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Old Man Logan.
There we are. So,
hey, in the after show, let's talk a little bit more about Old Man Logan, the trailer that dropped.
yeah, we should do that. Absolutely.
Holy shit.
Super good.
Okay.
Yeah.
X23 in the house. With that, though, Bob, man, what's going on?
Oh, gee. Well, let's see.
Can you say O.G. Williker? I just want to have that.
Oh, I thought he was like OG, like original gamer.
Oh, that'd be good, too.
Yeah, OG, man. Yo. That's how I roll.
Oh, terrible.
Picking chits out of a cup, man. That's how he rolls.
Punch cards for programming.
There
Oh,
we
yeah.
go. Oh,
Chris, don't choke on that coffee.
Come on,
okay?
Chris. No
It's not,
spit
it's not
takes.
coffee. It's
Okay,
it's
whatever.
tea.
Hans.
It's not coffee.
Hans. It's radio.
So, anywho,
So we're going.
Sunday,
with the hot
we
opening.
played Action Movie World again.
No, we certainly played.
Oh, yeah.
Daytona Nights.
Yeah.
Volume 2.
That
Fine,
game is so much fun, A, because Action Movie World is a hoot, and B, because the 4 people that are playing it are a riot.
Yes.
It's really
It's
funny.
so much fun.
Not me, because it's not my genre or shtick.
Oh God, it's really funny, and yet it had human trafficking, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's still wound up funny.
Yeah, I mean, we took an angle on it that
I've got like every 80s trope I can rock into this thing. I've got Euro trash bad guys.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I'm working it hard. Yeah, it's good.
Yep.
I love Eurotrash bad guys.
Oh, Chaz. Chaz was the he
I
was
called
the
him-
he
I
was
called
the
him Hans.
director. He was the director of the illegal studio that was
Oh, were they shooting snuff films or were they
no,
shooting...
just straight up, it's his 80s, just
Yeah.
straight up porn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, the 90s episode of Action Movie World, then it's all snuff films.
Oh, okay,
We
cool.
go to like the Steel edition.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
So what else, man?
Just chugging along, working. I had to work on Saturday, had to cover a shift, and doing proofing for Encoded. There's a book coming out. Ooh, man, that book is gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it in a second, so...
Yeah. I'll let you have that.
Thanks.
So, Phil, what's going on with you, man?
Well, had the parents in town,
Yeah.
which was nice. They came out for my daughter's birthday, but I also had to proof. So there was no time for, it was like, hi mom, hi dad, I got to go read this thing. And I did. Like, I take a little, I probably burnt a little karma on that one, but I was like, I got to read this thing. So I did that. And then I finished reading The Hood because I'm getting ready to play The Hood with the same group that we're playing Action Movie World with.
Very cool.
And I actually went and found, I sent out a tweet over the weekend. Thanks, Past Phil. Past Phil archived that whole game. All the character sheets, the graphics for the maps, the custom moves that we had for the locations. All of it was like neatly put away. So I was able to unpack all of it, and I was like, oh, I have everything I need to start running the Hood again.
Very cool.
So we're going to. I'm really psyched, actually. I like that game quite a bit. So I did that, and then I GM'd some Action Movie World, which, like Bob said, hilarious. It's really like the 3 of them. It's really funny. It's a buddy cop movie, and so if you know anything about the Action Movie World rules, if you're the lead, you can't die. So when Bob invoked the buddy cop movie, he and Dave are the leads, so they can't die.
Yep.
Except, and then there's just Tony.
Yeah, so he's getting murdered like left and right.
Well,
right?
last movie, he got blown up and they found him in an air duct and like brought him back to life.
Uh-huh.
Like he lived, but he was like wounded and they fished him out of the air duct. So at some point in the next episode, Tony bites it again.
Most likely.
He's kind of like Kenny, right? Like
Yeah,
he's
he
never fully dead, but
he just keeps dying.
yeah, something's going to happen.
I feel like Daytona Nights 3 has to be starring Larry McGee.
I mean, you think so, but I think it'll just be funnier if like every time he's not the lead.
I think it would be too. Like that seems like a great idea. But I don't play in that game, so I'm not going to tell you guys what to do.
No, and it's just really funny. Like we've really milked like every '80s cop trope that I can get my hands on.
And we have a killer soundtrack.
Oh yeah, we're using this YouTube to.
It's a YouTube channel called New Retro Wave.
So if you like anything '80s, you should just hop on out to New Retro Wave and listen to it.
New Retro Wave.
Oh God, it's so unbelievably, unabashedly '80s background music.
Yep,
it's so fantastic. Anyway, that's me. I mean, had some therapies, surviving. Yeah, therapies, ups and downs. Anyway, I'm good. How about you?
I've been kind of busy.
I would expect no less.
Except gamer wise busy. Like I've just been like doing a lot of stuff, especially marketing. So we have a book that's coming out called The Book of the Trask.
The what?
Yeah, the potential release date is February 1st. That is what we're shooting and aiming at, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's that. I've been marketing that. You can see like there's a Kel's Trask and a mini Trask picture that are kind of floating around on Twitter and in a couple other spaces. Winter Fantasy is coming soon, and I'm the marketing person for Baldman Games, so I've been promoting that, and also Elmwood 1-1, The Siege of Cormanther, which is for sale now in the DMs Guild. That's up, and I've been talking about that a lot lately. That's my my hidden plug right there.
Right, that was good.
Not so hidden anymore because I mentioned it.
Right.
Yeah.
Less hidden.
Yes. Editing all kinds of podcasts. I'm working on a new show that's launching this week that is called Hobbs and Friends of the OSR.
I'm actually really excited for this.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Hobbs has been floating around with some OSR folks that he's friends with, and they seem to enjoy the show. Working on like cover art and things like that. I got to play some Basic Expert Edition D&D last night. That was really fun.
Yeah.
We went into a dungeon. We got almost murdered by these Neanderthals.
Are you playing homebrew stuff, or are you playing like a published adventure?
A published adventure.
Oh, which one?
But
are you
it's
playing?
but it's advanced really far, and it's not one of the old ones. It's one of the new ones.
Oh, okay.
It's called Kalmata.
No, it's okay. I thought if you were playing something out of my childhood, I was gonna be all excited.
Yeah, we're actually playing with the guy who wrote it originally, but Hobbs has taken it because he's the dungeon master, and he has like advanced the timeline like 30 years, so it's like different from the original mod, so that the guy who wrote it doesn't know what's going to happen.
Nice.
It's pretty fun. I like it a lot. It's got the hex crawl stuff, and it's also got the dungeon delving stuff in it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And he's just added a whole new aspect to the game where like he defined a bunch of people that live in Kalmata. So like it's got our Airy Peaks feel to it now.
Oh, okay.
So like there's people to interact with in town, and then we go out adventuring, and
Oh.
then we come back to town.
I like I like that setup quite a bit.
Me too. I do. I like it a lot.
That's good. It's good fun.
I played some Fate this past weekend, a Day of Fate with Glenn.
Nice. See, again, parents in town.
Yeah.
Couldn't come out today. Fate.
Me and Nikki and a couple of people that I don't know, and then Glenn.
I saw a table selfie. What did you guys play?
We played It's Not My Fault,
Oh, nice.
which was fabulous.
That game never fails to deliver.
There was we were in Lich, Florida, underground. We called it Lich, Florida, because it's where all the liches go to retire.
Sure.
Yeah, and then there was like an amusement park for the undead. It is not it was terrible.
Phylactery.
Like when we went to the Tilt-A-Whirl, it wasn't like.
Was it made of people?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it was.
Like the carnival games, like it was axe throwing at people.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was bad.
I did a thing like that in Vampire, except it really wasn't funny.
That's not funny.
Mistress Arion's House.
That was Whispering Vault. That was very not funny. I would have gotten X-carded if it hadn't been 1994.
Yeah.
And it hadn't existed.
So I was playing a gnome performing sorcerer.
Fantastic.
And one of my aspects was sometimes they call me Tim because I could blow stuff.
Sure,
I'm a sorcerer,
of course.
you know.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was also like the short gnome, like 2.5 feet tall gnome,
love
and
it.
like a half foot was my hat. So I'd be crawling
awesome.
up on people's shoulders. And we had like a werewolf and a zombie alchemist, and Nikki was playing a fairy, who was also an illusionist.
It's awesome. I mean, I love how those cards work.
Yeah,
It's
they're
a
great.
very clever design.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Super great. Yeah. played the Streets of Avalon last Wednesday with the Weepas.
Yeah, the Weepas.
Yep, that Wednesday night podcast All Stars.
Yep.
Wednesday evening podcast All Stars. Sorry. Did the Trask final read through. Busy. So that's all with me. All right. With that being said, let's get into a few announcements. Misdirected Mark has an archive. All the shows are there now too.
All the shows?
All of the shows.
All of the Misdirected Mark shows are there. Sorry.
All the Misdirected Mark shows.
Yes.
So you can find the Drunk Cast, episode 9.
3.
Damn it, 3?
I think it's 3.
How unprofessional were you guys to get drunk on your third podcast?
I don't know. I'm a bad idea. It's a bad idea. It's just like, whatever. Down with D&D now has a Twitter called @DownWithD&D.
I saw
Down
that.
with D, the letter D, the letter N, the letter D.
Yeah.
Both me, Merwin, and Cindy all have access to that Twitter. So if you see tweets from that, it's from any one of us. The mega feed's going away.
No, you know what? By this point, get off the... Warning. Please evacuate the mega feed. Follow the lighted pathway on the floor to one of the 5 exits. 2 in the front, 2 over the wing, 1 in the back.
Oh, now we're only going to say this one more time because after that the mega feed's gone.
After that, if we vanish, it's your fault.
Yeah,
It's not our fault.
We've been telling you for like 5 weeks.
Right. We've done all that we even made you a file.
Yes.
You could download.
We didn't make it. We just posted it. Mycroft made it.
Mycroft Holmes. Thank you very much. Went ahead and made a file. You could just import it and bam, you have all your stuff.
Do you not think it's cool that we have British Secret Service helping us out?
I think it's pretty awesome that we've a network, man.
Yeah.
I mean we have our agents in Australia. We got people looking out for news in London, in England.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
we're everywhere, man.
We're wired, man.
Exactly. So there's not going to be a mega feed anymore.
Yeah, you got to stop with the mega feed.
February 1st, I'm shutting all of it down.
Right, it's got to go.
There's no more iTunes for that.
Right.
I'm sure if you still want to use that mega feed, you can find some workaround for it, but I'm not going to make it easy for you.
No.
Just saying.
Yes.
All right. Last thing before we get on to our main topic. We're going to start a new segment in the after show, but that is actually gaming content specific. It's called Building a World. It'll also be in some other places, but here's the idea. Every week, I'll be posting stuff in a few places in the Mr. Mark communities looking for ideas about a setting. Those ideas will be built into what is called a Vista. And with that, I am going to eventually publish it for everybody that is in the Patreon, who's at $4 or more. Everybody will get a copy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
I'm down with that.
So, but the after show is the primary place I'll be looking for inspiration. And you chat room folks, since you're probably going to be there in the after show, tonight's topic for that is our yes/no list. What do we want in this? What do we not want in this setting?
So you're going to make it, it's just going to be like a high level setting?
Yes.
Like system agnostic?
Yes.
Okay. Of some particular genre that we're going to pick tonight?
Yeah, we're going to build it all tonight.
Okay.
Build out the first parts of it tonight. And over the course of time, we're going to build out more pieces.
Can I offer a thing?
You can, but you can't until the after show.
Oh no, not a piece like that. I want to say a thing.
Sure, go ahead.
So, I would like to say that once you have it put together, and we're ready to release it, I will get us a black and white sketch of some aspect of the setting.
Well, we might have enough money to do that ourselves.
Okay, I'm just saying, if not, a Matt Morrow.
Eventually, we'll sell it.
Okay, a Matt Morrow sketch.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying.
But I want to make sure everybody gets their stuff. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, awesome.
Fantastic. I'm sure we'll get some Drew Smith inside pieces too. Okay. Well, we're going to move on now to the workshop where we're going to talk about niches. I know there's been a few people that want us to do some other segments like garages again. We'll get to them in the future.
Hey, if other people would like us to do garages, by all means, just tell us a mechanic you want us to take apart, and Chris and I will get on it. Listen, no mechanic is too ridiculous. If you remember past garages, such as encumbrance, grappling, we'll do it.
Yes.
And I mean, we'll do it well. But if you have one in particular, if you're like, hey, I like the garage topics, by all means, toss us out one, man. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, me too. All right, here we go. Off to the workshop. Welcome to the workshop, where we try to build better games.
Yepper. So tonight, Tonight we're talking about niches, man.
We are, in fact.
This is a little bit of a subject. Some people are pro niche. Some people are very like anti niche.
Yeah. Me and Tony at one point in time, he thought we were going to have an argument about niche protection about a certain subject, and I completely didn't go that way. And he was like floored. He's like, I don't know how to argue with you anymore.
Yeah, I will say this at a high level. If a game has niches, then I'm for them. If the game does not, then it's open to a little more discussion.
I agree.
Okay.
So let's start with some definitions like we always do.
Yeah.
Phil, what is a niche?
So a niche, a place or a position suitable or appropriate for a person or thing. It's a role that somebody like plays in an ecosystem or environment.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else, or is that good?
No, like it's that, right? It's
Sure.
Let me just give like a quick example.
All right, hit me.
Fighter.
Fighters fight stuff. They take swords. They wear armor.
They wear armor. They carry weapons. Got a shield. Right? They fight stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a niche.
That is a niche.
Okay.
So let's break, which you sort of did already, that down in terms of role-playing games.
Yeah. All right. So niches often pertain to characters, player characters, more often. I mean, it does to NPCs, but it's really
It is when we're talking about niches, I think we're actually talking about characters, like the player characters.
yeah.
what they're playing.
It's really when we talk about niches, we're talking about player character things. Although I will say, like GMPC is a is like in this as well,
because
right?
they can fit into a niche that is not filled.
because they can-
We'll talk about that later because it'll be when we talk about when we don't have
Yes.
the niche filled.
Okay. So they pertain primarily to player characters. They come in a few levels with like they kind of. This is how you kind of define them. What is the group's role in a game? Like that's the group's niche.
Uh huh.
And then we can go down one more. What is an individual character's role within the group?
Mm-hmm.
So our group niche could be like a group of mercenaries, or we are minstrels traveling through the countryside, right?
Yep.
Like that's your niche, right? Like
We are
go
members
town,
of exactly.
we go town to town, we play music, we solve mysteries.
I'll give you another one.
Yeah.
The Scooby Doo and them. That's a niche. Their crew.
Yeah, that group, right?
Yeah, they're traveling mystery solvers, like you were just
Exactly.
talking about. A group of knights or protectors of the kingdom.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Bounty hunters, right? Those
Another
kinds of
one.
things. All right, and then within the group, what is an individual's role?
Yeah.
So, maybe we have like a wizard,
Yep.
right? Like that's a niche. Cast spells, buff people, those kinds of things. Okay. And then, we have fighter and rogue and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay. That's how we kind of get to them.
Sure.
And what we're essentially talking about is the way that the character, like that's, it's really hard to pin this down. When you ask like what your character does, that's like your niche.
Yeah. You're talking about the class or the occupation.
Exactly. Well, now you've said class, so now we should probably kind of.
And we are
get in-
talking about this as related to role-playing games.
Yes. So when we talk about this in role-playing games, role-playing games sometimes codify this.
Yes.
And not always. But if it is going to be codified for player characters, it's often done in the form of class or occupation.
Because those have a certain set of skills or abilities that make up what they can do.
Exactly.
And those are generally different from the other classes or occupations that exist in the game.
Yeah. In fact, and I think we might talk about this a little later down, but if they're not very distinct, we can have some problems.
Yeah, because you have overlap.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, when we talked a little bit about some of those examples, let's talk about some of those things that are niches. Like we talked about like the knights and the things like that, but there's we can do better than
That's
that.
the group niche,
Yeah,
right?
let's talk about like some of the individual stuff.
Yeah.
So I think there are at least two high level ones that I know of. Like there's that adventuring party one that has their classes.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's the heist crews,
Oh, absolutely.
because those also have class like things.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Leverage did a great job of breaking that down for us.
I mean, leverage so much so that the actual show uses the niche
It
names
does, yeah.
in it. I was just watching one the other day with Parker's mentor, and Parker actually, the mentor actually, Archie, actually says she's not a hitter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the niche name. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Because that's what they call each other.
that's right.
Yeah. So Cyberpunk 2020,
Yeah,
like you got an occupation in that game.
you did. So Rocker Boy, for instance.
Or vending. Oh wait, that's not a really
No.
game. Never
Rocker
mind.
Boy, Netrunner, Cop, Media, Fixer,
Yep.
Techie, Med Techie. Yeah. Now, in Cyberpunk 2020, you had fairly open skill system, but each one of the occupations had a special skill that none of the other occupations had. And so having that skill was kind of your niche. Like, we could all have firearms. We could all have, pilot hovercraft. I don't think pilot hovercraft was exactly, but whatever. Like, we could all pilot an AV4, but only the media gets the media ability. Only the fixer gets that fixer ability, which is like to make deals and find stuff, that kind of thing. So that was their niche. Like, and it was straight up, right? Like, you had to say on your character sheet, I am a net runner.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the quintessential one, right? Like
D&D.
D&D, like, stamp this out. This is like, this is where it comes from, and you can watch it spread out.
So
right?
here, it's interesting because really the niches are fighter, thief, cleric, and fighter, thief, cleric, and wizard.
Wizard. Yep.
Yeah. Because everything else is sort of a hybrid of something of those things.
Oh, sure. I mean, if we look at basic D&D, elf.
Yeah. 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 Right.
Right? Elf is wizard fighter.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Halfling.
It's what is the halfling?
I think it's just a fucking thief.
It's just a thief, man.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind
It's
of thief.
a little thief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the paladin is a fighting cleric.
Yeah.
It has some of both of them.
Essentially.
Yeah, it has some of both of them, but it doesn't have the magical potential of a cleric. It doesn't have some of the martial abilities of the fighter.
Oh, I'm gonna raise my hand
Sure, go ahead. What's up?
because I have a very interesting niche one that's not on in our show notes.
Sure, hit me.
Numenera.
Yeah, like that one's weird because the way that it gives you niche is how the different pieces fit together.
It's the sentence.
Yeah, the sentence.
It's the sentence that makes your niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also does it does that, but it does so much more for that game.
It's really smart,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like
super smart.
It creates a unique niche with a finite number of pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, if I remember the rule correctly, when you make characters, one of those components is unique. No one else can take it.
Yeah, I think it's the last part. Who whatevers.
Who whatevers, right?
I am a Jack who
Oh man, somebody get Darcy on the line.
whatevers and howls at the moon.
We seriously need to have the ability to, like, through Hangouts or something, just call on misdirected Mark members when we have wherever Darcy is, like a bat signal goes off,
Yeah,
and just be
yeah.
like, Darcy, we're screwing up the
The
sentence
Numenera
for
thing.
Numenera. Can you bail us out?
Man, Brandon Barnes is in there. Help us out. Give us what it is. I can see you. All right. So yeah, there's that. Vampire had clans.
Absolutely, clans absolutely were niches.
Yes. I mean the venture of the business folks,
Right.
and they had everybody had certain power sets that they could take from them, right?
Yeah, like the powers. Now you could go off book for powers, but I think they costed more. But there were like certain powers that were like set for your clan.
Brandon hit me. The focus is the part where they're
There we go.
That was
Thank
the last
you.
part.
Thank you, Brandon.
So yeah, like, and then the Lamora, they had shadow magic, right? Is it the Lamora or the whatever that
Sombra?
So,
The
the Sombra.
Sombra.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not a vampire person.
Yeah, not a vampire
Yeah.
person. Their chat room is gonna yell at you in a second.
Whatever, it's fine.
You know who's in there.
Powered by the Apocalypse games, they have playbooks.
I mean, that's actually one of the hallmark signs of a Powered by Apocalypse game is the playbook.
Yeah, that's their character sheet, and they're supposed to only be one per person.
Correct. Like when you play Dungeon World, you put out the playbooks on the table, and whoever picks fighter is the fighter. Like that's it. No one else picks fighter. And that's pretty much true, I think, through most of the other ones. Right?
Yeah,
I'm right on that, right?
that is true.
I feel right.
Yeah, that's the way that game works. I was just thinking about I'm still thinking about the Numenera thing, right? Like it's caught in my crow that I can't remember how it works because it's been so long since I played it. So yeah, so those are how RPGs codify niches.
Well, now can we take a second and crack into that?
Sure, hit me.
Okay, so they, let's talk about what's in there. Like, what's in a D&D class?
So you get skills, you get hit points, you get your proficiencies, you get special abilities. That's pretty much what you get.
So the niche is defined in D&D. Now, it used to be saving. Did you say saving throws? In older editions.
You do get saving throws. You get proficiency. I said proficiencies because you get proficiencies in your saving
Fifth
throws.
edition.
In saves these days, yeah.
But we go back in the past.
Yeah, you would get certain saving throws, or it would give you your save versus death and all that stuff.
Right. So the character class, what's in that character class is what's telling you what makes a character unique in this game. So, for instance, one of the first things you learn playing D&D is hit die,
Yep.
right? Like, hey, I'm going to play the wizard. I get a what?
Enjoy your D4 hit die.
Right. Enjoy your D4
Well,
hit die.
D6 these days.
Old school, man, right? D4.
I'm playing a magic user.
Right?
And they didn't call them wizards, they called them magic users.
Magic user. It's not an easy job, man.
No, I'm walking around with one spell and a torch. Like,
And 4 fucking hit points.
yeah, 5 because I have Constitution.
There you go,
'Cause I
5.
had to roll straight down the line.
Oh, nice. 3d6 down the line.
Yeah, my con is a 13. My intelligence is an 11. I'm not even the smartest person in my party.
You're not a smart magic
Watch out for
user.
that house cat.
Yeah. There's a house cat.
I should hope the hell not.
It's the magic user versus house cat.
Oh, that's right. The house cat had could kill you.
Could kill you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's funny.
We're a little slow on the uptake.
Another
Sorry.
obscure reference from Old Man Logan.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, yeah. So, in Cyberpunk, I said it's just that unique ability. In Vampire, it had to do with the powers you could access. And then it had some, like, more narrative things about, like, you know, who the clan was, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And it had a couple, like the Nosferatu had, like, they were disfigured. Like, you had to cross off your attractiveness thing.
Yeah, because you lived in the sewers or somewhere in an abandoned
Well, you
building.
lived in the sewers because you were ugly as sin.
Yeah,
like
like you
it was.
couldn't really walk around, or you took
Correct.
as many ranks in was it obfuscate or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's what you needed. Now,
Yeah.
unless you were on the Fox Kindred TV show, when the Nosferatu guy was just like bald, like not ugly at all.
No,
like
yeah.
that guy was he's just normal looking.
Yeah.
Remember
No,
that?
He was not ugly enough.
He was not ugly enough to
Jeff
be a real.
Colbert.
Oh, was that? That was Jeff Colbert.
Jeff Colbert.
By the way, if you've never seen that show, say what you
Brilliant.
will about
Love it.
I loved it. I did. I thought it was great. Okay. Anyway, onward.
It
Do you
was
want to go onward?
terrible, by the way.
What's that?
That shit was terrible.
No.
I
No.
mean, it's fine.
No, it was Melrose Place for bloodsuckers.
Yeah,
It was the blood-sucking Melrose Place.
Yeah, I don't even like Melrose Place.
I mean, that's a personal thing, man. Like, I watched Melrose Place all through college, man. Like, we all gathered in the room yelling at the TV,
Like Melrose Place is like a poor imitation of 90210.
which we also watched.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Well, I mean, so 90210 was like somewhat wholesome, and then like Melrose Place was like, well, we're just gonna let the
Oh,
script
you're
writers
right.
run loose.
That's right. That's why you like it, because it's debauchery at its best.
Sydney, man.
Yes, that's fine.
Remember Sydney with the red hair?
I do. All right. Where
Bob's
are we
with
at?
me.
Where are we at here?
Where the hell are we at?
Are we moving on to plenty of RPGs?
Please,
Do
please
yeah.
get us back on track.
So a bunch of RPGs actually don't define this idea
No,
of niche protection, Savage Worlds, GURPS.
well, don't say niche protection. Don't have defined niches.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, they have open character creation systems. Savage Worlds, like you just said.
And you're absolutely right. I shouldn't have said niche protection. They don't.
We'll
define
get to niche protection shortly.
Yeah. And those two games I mentioned are pretty good examples of that.
I was talking over you. Let's mention them again.
Savage Worlds, GURPS.
Fate.
I didn't mention Fate, and Fate is one of them. Yes,
Yeah, those have no niche built into them.
that is correct.
Now, you can make characters that fulfill a specific role,
That is correct.
but the game does not prescribe that you do.
yeah, you
and
can
that's
actually
the
play 3 rogues if you want.
correct. Like you can, like for instance, you can make a wizard in Savage Worlds, right? Like you just need the arcane background. You need to take a couple of edges for powers, like extra powers, stuff like that, and you can be a wizard. So can anyone else,
That's true.
right? Or no one else. Yeah. Okay.
So what does niche do for players, man?
Yeah. What the hell's the point, right? Like seriously, what's the point of having niches?
Well, I think honestly, it's a shortcut for helping players find the type of characters they like to play.
Yeah. I mean, if the character says thief, and your abilities are like pickpockets, open locks, find and remove traps. I'm going through the old school ones, right?
Yeah, man, it tells you what you're doing. Climb walls.
Climb walls, read magic.
Uh-huh.
Oh God, is there one more?
There's 8 of them, so I think you're missing a few.
Oh,
I can't remember what they all are either.
Old Man Logan. Search.
Use magic device.
Could
I don't know if that's in that list from the old one. You'd have to go look up.
yeah. Anyway,
I mean, I could actually look it up, and I'm busy.
point being is that you're right. It helps give direction to players. Like if you first sit down at this table, like let's picture 10-year-old Phil, grade 4, and learning.
Did he still want to play a barbarian?
Chris, at age 10, at how old I am, it would be a few more years before Unearthed Arcana with the Barbarian would come out.
Did he want to play a fighter who was angry?
So no, I went through a couple characters. I got a thief killed. I didn't even try for a magic user because I knew 4 hit points was ridiculous and no armor. That was suicidal. Fighter. I went through a couple fighters. Because that's a D10 hit die, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Patrick, my GM, right? Age 10 Phil, you're playing the fighter, right? I look, fighter. I must fight things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very easy. Easy to grasp onto.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So it gives you direction.
Yeah. It also does that for everyone else at the table. I'm playing the alchemist.
It's true.
Right?
It means you mix stuff up and make potions.
Right. Inevitably, I'm going to blow up.
It's actually what the high concept does for Fate.
Yes, it actually does.
Because it creates your niche, whatever you want your niche to be.
Exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, so in a way, it helps guide players and it helps guide the group.
Correct. Yes.
Because then we know what our roles are,
Uh-huh.
and then we just figure out how to do that and roll some dice.
It also helps the game master, dungeon master, whoever figure out what kind of game they should be running based on all the niches that are picked.
Exactly.
Or eventually developed. Because even if you don't have a niche in your game, you kind of build to one anyway.
I mean, inevitably your group takes on some sort of group definition.
Yeah, I can't think of any storytelling exercise that has a group of characters that are going on an adventure that doesn't fulfill niches. Like you can almost every time you watch something that has that, you start picking them out.
Oh yeah.
So it makes sense that games that are adventure fiction based do that too.
Well, yeah, I mean,
unless it's Swords Without Master, never mind.
Swords Without Master does not have it does not have prescribed niches.
It doesn't even feel like we slide into them.
No. And it's really amorphous what the group does, right?
Yeah.
Like it's okay because that game like we've had scenes to be like, well, why are we together?
That's true.
Right? And so we did.
Yeah, but why we're together and the niche of us, like the niches that we fulfill are different. Like I'm just as much of a rogue as everybody else. I mean, I do have magic abilities.
Right.
But I'm still more gray mouser than anything.
Yeah, it's true, actually. There's very little niche. So let's talk about that because what that means is that it is kind of hard for everyone at the table to kind of really understand what everyone does. Like, for instance, Glenn did a good job with Stalwart and pretty much declared Stalwart's basically a paladin.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he said paladin, the rest of us kind of were like, oh, okay. Like, that's, now we know what to do with Stalwart.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of you guys are still like, there's like a little.
Yeah, I mean, Justice is basically a fighter.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a rogue, but I use magic. I mean, you could define me if you wanted to, but I mean, that game isn't about that, so it doesn't matter.
Correct.
Right? Like Nikki's playing basically a rogue, a straight up rogue.
I'm going to tell you why it doesn't matter. I just picked it apart.
Sure.
So here's the other thing that niches do. Niches ensure spotlight.
But that game provides spotlight.
That game has spotlight structured into the mechanics.
Correct.
So niches provide spotlight. For instance, if we're in a dungeon and there is a locked door, the thief now gets spotlight time.
It gives them something to do.
Correct. If somebody gets wounded, the cleric gets spotlight time.
I was dancing around it before when we were talking about the special abilities. Like, that's what those special abilities do. They inform the game master what the players are wanting to do.
And they also inform the player what you
they
should be doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So
there's a funny, can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
All right. So years ago, Bob and I are playing with our friend Mike, and we're going to play G1, right? The Hill Giants adventure. So we make up some characters. We're going to go on the Hill Giant adventure. And we're in the chieftain's hut or whatever. It's not the hut. We're in the complex, right? And Mike's playing the wizard, and I'm playing some barbarian, of course.
Uh-huh.
And I forget what Bob's playing.
with an F name. A K name.
K name.
Sorry.
Always K names. And we encounter, I forget what we encounter, but I look at Mike and I'm like, holy shit, quick. Oh, it was a room full of things. I'm like, holy shit, throw a fireball. And he's like, I'm not an evoker. I'm a summoner or whatever. And I'm like, you ain't got fireball?
So summon something in the room then.
You're a magic user and you ain't got fireball? Like, what the hell use are you in this party? Like, I started yelling at him. I'm like, for fuck's sake, we're in the middle of the giants. You ain't got no fireball. He's like, I can summon some Arrowhawks. I'm like, Arrowhawks? Summon a fireball.
Summon a fire elemental.
Here's that thing where niche informs, right? Like Mike said, when we sat down to play, we were all like, what did everybody make? I'm like, I made a barbarian. Bob's like, I made whatever. Cleric, probably, right? Because it's Bob, cleric.
Probably.
And Mike's like, I made a wizard. So we're like,
all right.
Okay,
Throw
wizard.
some lightning bolts, some
yeah,
fireballs.
let's throw some
magic
fireballs. ain't got no fireballs. I was so mad. And then like we were
Did you
running
all
for our
die?
lives.
Well, see, he could have summoned some Arrowhawks to distract the giants while you ran away.
He did, and they like tore through them like in 2
it's so
seconds because it's
funny.
not a fucking fireball. Anyway.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's funny.
No, again,
I'm gonna move us along if you don't mind.
no, by all means. I think we've struck on that thing, right? Like we've spotlight.
Yeah.
It provides spotlight. And to go back to Swords Without Master, the reason why it's not a big deal is the rules of Swords Without Master has codified in it the passing of the dice, which signifies the moving of the spotlight from player to player.
Correct.
That is why niche isn't that important.
I agree.
Ooh, I just made that up.
Well,
Fist bump, man.
Yeah, fist bump.
Good job. Thanks.
Not to mention
Vecchio
the fact
earning
that
his
it
keep.
says all the characters are rogues.
Right. They just call them rogue.
Yeah.
That's very true.
They're very careful about what
Yeah.
they mean by that. But
I got a question for you. So, what are some of the pitfalls of niches then?
right. So this can actually go awry.
Yeah, like terribly awry, in fact.
Niche dependency. Let's start with niche dependency.
All right. So, what does that even mean?
All right, so some games, because they have niches, are expecting niches to be fulfilled.
Ah.
So I know this from a WotC seminar I sat in once in the early 2000s where they were talking about 3.5. And they basically said, when we write adventures, we expect 4-person party, wizard, rogue, cleric, fighter.
Yes.
If you're missing one of those,
It's going to be a problem.
the game, the written adventure doesn't work.
Yeah, because those written adventures have to assume something.
They have to. Like, you
Yeah.
can't write... You don't know who's at the table, so you have to go with it, and they go with the base 4 classes, right? Like, that's it. But if I went and got advanced splat book from third-party vendor during the D20 glut, and everybody shows up to the table with, like, I don't know,
So here's the thing.
set of crazy classes.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
those are the 4 base things
Yes.
for D&D. Everything else that's built around that fills some part of those roles.
Right, but for instance, what if we all played fighters?
Well, then you're all dead.
Well, I mean, right. So what happens? We all go to the dungeon. We're 4 fighters, right? We got 10 hit points apiece.
You're still all dead.
We ain't got no trap ability.
You can't heal.
You can't heal, and we've got no advanced
magic.
buffing, no magic.
Yeah.
We're dead.
Dead.
And we got a few rooms in.
Especially because it's a written adventure and it assumes the thing from before.
Spotlight, right? The writer assumes there's going to be a thief spotlight, so guess what? There's a trap.
Now, if it's a homebrew, no big deal.
No, you would just adapt this.
Because you can just design to your crew.
Absolutely. So you can adapt accordingly, but for using published adventures, it is actually really good to know if your rule system uses niches / classes / occupations, it's good to know what the default assumptions are for published adventures.
Yep. And I'm just going to pull this out of the chat room because I saw it, and she's absolutely right. The crafty DM, Emily, she was like, and 4th edition codified that. There were 4 kinds of roles.
Oh yeah,
And everything fit into those 4 roles. It's one of the reasons why I like that game so much.
It's also one of the reasons why people hated that game.
Well, those people are crazy.
No. I mean, to their credit, the people like my experience has been people who didn't like 4th edition were 3rd edition wizards.
Probably.
Because 4th edition wizards weren't super.
They also could have been 3rd edition fighters because they didn't get their feet chains.
No, because I was a 3rd edition. I mean, barbarian fighter, whatever, and the warlord was the most amazing class I've ever played in my life.
Love that warlord.
Right,
class.
like the warlord. I love the warlord. I have no words for it. Like that core, and I say core, KOR. That's the name of like all my D&D characters, all of them.
Yeah.
That version of core, the Dragonborn warlord
Yep.
with the glaive, I'd like weep how much I loved that character. Right, like he was so badass because it was finally like, oh, I'm playing a fighter that can do shit. Like besides just roll to hit, do damage. Like I could do stuff.
I could sit here and complain about everything that was wrong with the tactical combat elements of 3rd edition.
No, it's, I mean, we
Like,
could,
there's so many of them.
yeah. So anyway, okay. So yes, codified. Absolutely. And they codified them by, I mean, they called them by niche, and then they had like variants of it. So much so that you just kind of knew, like, what was it? Just gonna try to. The bard was like what?
He was a leader.
Right. So the bard was a leader. The bard, the warlord,
The cleric.
the cleric. Was it the warden? No, the warden was a different.
Warden was a natural
Yeah.
one. I think not the warden. It wasn't the druid either. I forget what the natural healer was.
Right, but you could take the niches and then you could line up the classes in the niches, and see how they worked.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a leader, a striker, a defender, and a controller for every kind of
Yep.
power. Which
Right.
there were just different kinds of powers.
Yeah, there was divine, there was natural.
Yeah, there was arcane, all that stuff. Martial, because the warlord fit in the martial. All right, so we were talking about something. We were talking about niche dependency. We got way off on a tangent because of that 3rd edition, 4th edition thing. Sorry about that, and that's probably my fault. But this can.
No, so niche dependency, right?
Yeah.
So niche dependency, the game requires the published adventures, or even the game,
Yeah.
expect that certain niches will be
Yeah.
filled.
So here's a question: what happens if there's a character that isn't there?
Right. So like this is the missing character problem,
Yeah.
right?
What
Like
happens then?
let's say Mark doesn't show up to play his barbarian, right?
So you have no tank.
Right. So we GMs have to kind of adjust the game on the fly. And we need to be cognizant of that. Like we need to look at the table and be like, Mark's not here. I need to maybe scale back a couple of my
Some of the big hitters, the heavy fights and things
Exactly.
like that. Make it more about enhance the puzzle trap exploration side of the game.
tone down like 20 goblins for like 6. Like
yeah, sure.
because
Yeah.
the barbarian's great at mopping up those things with cleaves and things like that.
Same thing with your traps. If the rogue doesn't show up, then you need to shift.
Yeah. You need traps to be able to be found by the other players and kind of thunk through. Yeah.
More like puzzles.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to do this yet. Okay, remind me. I want to complain about the wizard.
Okay.
I'm gonna complain about the D&D wizard in a few minutes.
Because how it encroaches on everyone's niche.
Oh, thank you. Fuck yes. Oh my god. I hate wizards.
It's the thing about magic. It can do a lot of things, right? Like I love magic,
Sorry, my dad's calling.
and it's okay.
I'm in a podcast. I can't do that.
And when you complain about the wizard, remind me to talk about how the Dresden Files role playing game kind of helped with that situation.
You know what we should do? We should stop
pin
telling
it?
each other.
Yeah.
And use the guy who's like supposed to remember shit
you
for
should
us.
just pin that.
Ding.
He has a niche. We're encroaching
on his niche. Maybe we should just pin that for a future, like the problem with wizards.
Oh my god, can we?
There you
Are
go.
you serious? Can we do a whole episode on the problem with wizards?
The problem with wizards. Yeah, we'll do a whole episode on that.
I fucking hate wizards.
All right, so
Okay.
we talked a little bit about missing niches.
Yeah. So you got to account, right? You got to make some adjustments. Otherwise, stuff isn't going to go as planned. Okay.
So what happens if somebody wants a character but that character doesn't exist in the game?
Right. So this is a problem, right? Like, let's say we get a new game and we're like, oh hell yes, like I totally want to play that game and I want to play,
We're playing Leverage. Somebody wants to be a magic user.
yeah. Like I want to play the magic user. It's like, well, you get hitter, hacker.
That doesn't
Right,
exist.
like it's not
I
there.
mean, the hacker's sort of like a wizard.
That's actually where you steer that player,
Yeah.
right? Like
Techno wizard.
Techno wizard.
Yeah.
No, but the point is, like, if there isn't a niche, like, now you've got a player who's got expectations that are kind of dashed.
Yeah, I mean,
And this is
you could
where
solve that problem. It's
Well,
not that hard.
No, but this is where, if we're talking about game evolution stuff, like this is where GURPS like arises, right? Like for instance, when you play D&D, you have this type of hit die, you can only wear this kind of armor, you can use these kinds of weapons. I'm talking about like, first edition shit, right?
Uh-huh.
That's still kind of true all the way through. But when you get to like GURPS is like, no. You're going to buy with points the stuff you want for your character. You want to be armor proficient?
Yeah.
Be armor proficient.
Correct.
You want to be able to cast some spells? Buy it and cast some spells.
Uh-huh.
And it's almost the reaction to heavily class structured games.
Well, yeah, because people were like, I want to play X, Y, and Z, but that doesn't exist in the game.
Right. Like for instance, so AD&D, no, multi-class was the initial solution, right? The initial solution to I want to play a magic user fighter.
Magic user fighter thief. Why don't you just play Bard?
Well, you had to use the appendix, right?
That's
Like,
right.
And it was, if I still remember when we did the bard episode, it's not easy to become a bard.
No, it's also prestige class.
Yeah,
so.
it's super hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, point being is that if I wanted armor and spells, I had to multi-class. And in D&D, there's penalties for that shit.
Yep, there is.
You pay for multi-classing.
Well, you used to.
No, well, I mean, you still did to
Not
all the way
in
through
fourth,
third edition.
Not in fifth.
No, but in up to third,
Yeah.
like you could advance one of your
I
classes.
love that I can be like, that was 2 editions ago.
Right. Like you could be a fighter magic user, you're just going to be like slightly suckier than the thief who's like level 7 and you're like a 3-4.
I actually think that even is an optional rule in Pathfinder. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so if there isn't a niche, like then you've got some like dashed expectations.
Can I tell you when you're, just as an aside, when your game balance is based on XP penalties for multi-classing, I think you need to fix your game. Just throwing it out there. Okay,
I think
I'm
that's
done.
I think that's legit.
All right. I'm a little militant tonight about stuff, I guess. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
I like it, man.
You know what it is? As another aside, real quick, I'm doing your son's thing. I'm a feature reviewer for Drive-Thru, and I get stuff all the time now. Every time I get a Pathfinder thing, I just delete it. I'm like, I don't play this game, and I don't really enjoy it very much. Just go away.
Yeah.
There you go. Never going in any for Pathfinder or anything here, folks.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've played it. It's not my.
I played it a lot.
I actually did play it a lot too. I had a cleric. Core.
Cool. So getting us back on track.
Yeah, can you please?
Yeah, we were talking about niche encroachment and
No,
invasion.
we were just about to talk about niche encroachment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're talking about that now.
Oh, please, let's talk about niche encroachment. So, Chris, what is niche encroachment?
So that's when a character can do the things as well or better than another character who is supposed to be able to do that well. Like, oh, I'm the thief, yet the I don't know, some advanced class from some splat book can not only thief really well and better than you, but also has some magic spells to go along with it.
Right.
The spell thief is better than the thief.
Yeah, like that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean that right. Let's get to the point. Niche encroachment sucks.
Because that was supposed to be my spotlight.
Right. And now somebody else can use that spotlight.
That's true.
So, for instance, like you get a little of this. Fighter and barbarian get a little close on that niche thing, but not completely, because fighter becomes a little more broad and you can kind of you define yourself through like your weapons and feats, where the barbarian is much more locked down by special ability.
Also in certain games, like the barbarian is like, I'm okay until I rage and then I'm awesome.
Yes.
And the fighter is like, I'm just better than you.
I'm just good.
I'm good.
Right. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah. So niche implosion is the thing where somebody's character has overlapping traits with another, and that character can do the same things. And suddenly we have spotlight conflict.
Yeah. Now, it's cool if you have teamwork rules,
Yes.
because that makes that not a problem, really, because you can both contribute.
Right.
But if you don't, then...
Now, there's a couple places where niche encroachment isn't a problem, like the paladin and the cleric healing, because you can never have too much fucking healing in your party, right? Like, you'll never see anybody be like, damn it, paladin, I should have used my cure light wounds spell instead of your lay on hands.
We are straying heavily into the fantasy examples, which is fine. I'm perfectly
Well, we
fine
are
being
because
there.
D&D and the D20 line
It's
the
such a good example of it.
quintessential examples of class and niche.
That's why the fighter and the barbarian aren't so bad either, because there's plenty of things to hack apart.
Right, and there's plenty of different ways to do it.
That's true.
Yeah. So, but for instance, two wizards sometimes becomes a thing.
It can.
Right, it can. Two rogues is actually
two rogues
really
is what gets me, man. Like, because that is the place where, like, so who's going to disable the trap?
me.
Because you have the the plus 12, and I only have the plus 9.
Right, me. Oh, me. Sit
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You can aid. Give me my +2.
Yeah.
Let me throw a caveat into this.
Please.
Because that kind of niche encroachment, that's poor planning and poor gamesmanship on the player's parts. If you're rolling into an adventure and you're like, I want to play a thief. Well, I want to play a thief too. Or like the thief versus the spell thief. Well, you've already got a thief. And you want to,
Uh-huh.
if the team ain't working together right from the get-go,
Right.
and you're starting to do that overlap right from the top of the list, then you're just asking for trouble.
Well, you're talking about session 0,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
if we have a good session 0,
Yeah.
we've headed this problem off.
Yeah.
But if and I have been in these games, and I know you have as well,
Yeah.
where the DM's like, bring a character, we're playing next week.
So what do we do? Yeah, that. So what do we do when that happens? What do we do when somebody brings a character and they end up being way
Well,
better
it's
than
like
the
showing
person?
up. It's like showing up. It's like if both of us show up with the same prom dress,
Yeah.
right? Like now we're down to who wore it better, right? Like now it's uncomfortable, right? Like you bitch. Like I'm wearing this to prom. Screw you. No, my point is now we have to decide, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is tough because if I made a character and I really like it, and it occupies the same niche as you, the best solution, the optimal solution, is get another character.
That's true.
Somebody give up their character.
Uh-huh.
Play rock, paper, scissors, fight your characters to the death, agree that whichever one lives by the end of the dungeon, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the ultimate solution. The lesser solution is agree to share the spotlight time. Or figure out a way to differentiate the two characters. Like,
Yeah. I hate when the mathematics of the game, though, like just obviously point to somebody having a better character than the other one.
right.
Because then you can't.
Well, I took Elven Thief, you took Half Orc Thief.
Yeah.
I have a 19 dex.
Yeah. I have,
Right. Sorry. Now, I will say this. 3rd edition, and possibly on up because I get weaker at my additions as we get closer to 5th. 3rd edition turns the thief into a rogue, and there's a lot of latitude inside rogue.
It's because of the skill monkey.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can have 2 skill monkeys, right? Like
'cause-
we can have a social skill monkey.
Yep.
Now, where that doesn't work is let's go back to 2nd edition. It's thief,
Correct.
and it's just thief.
Because that game was about, dungeon delving for the most
Right.
part.
But that, like, there's the overlap is severe where and this is where those like fucking kit books, like, I don't know if you remember I don't know if you remember the final days of TSR, like as Armageddon crept in. Those fucking kit
Second
books.
edition, the complete fighter, the complete thief.
The Complete Elf, the most broken book ever.
Correct. Like all they did was fracture the niche
Yeah.
into sub niches.
Yep.
And the problem was the sub niches,
Some of them are cool.
they were cool, but they still occupied the same like major niche.
It's true.
So
Or they would start encroaching on other people's niches.
right. All of a sudden the fighter starts picking up thief-like stuff.
There was a bard one where you could, where you were like a blade dancer or whatever. Like you were a performer with blades, so you could actually fight.
Suddenly the fighter's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, I mean, like I just hit something with the sword. I don't even look cool
Right.
doing it. I just hit it.
So niche encroachment can certainly occur when 2 players show up with the same character. Niche encroachment can also show up with the GMPC. I mean, this is the nightmare, right?
Yeah, it is.
This is the nightmare stories you hear about GMPCs. Now, we ourselves have done a whole episode dedicated to GMPCs that you can find in our archive,
Yeah.
and you should listen to it because we actually make a case for where GMPCs actually work.
And they can.
But in talking about where they completely and utterly fail, if your GMPC shows up occupying one of the characters' niches,
Or more than one of the
or
characters.
more
niches.
than, right, my Mary Sue is actually, fully competent thief and fighter.
I would actually just say that you should all just kill that character as fast as humanly possible.
I see no other way around it.
Yeah.
Just, lock him in a room, get murder time on him. Hold person, murder time.
Or just like leave him somewhere. And if he shows up magically, then kill him. Like we tried to let him live.
Right.
Sorry, game master.
Yeah. I mean, best thing you could do is actually put him inside a Tarask.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
Like,
why not?
Unless, of course, your Mary Sue GM NPC is,
Yeah, you lost it, man.
oh my God,
Now
I
I'm gonna
can't
say
believe
that-
it. The
no.
old man can't.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Come on,
really,
Forgotten Realms, Ed Greenwood's character.
Elminster.
Elminster,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
Then you're fine.
Then
All right.
he'll kill all you.
That's true. So really, this just boils down. What we're talking about boils down to don't be a dick. Wheaton's law.
There's
that
a lot
is
of Wheaton's
really
law.
what we're talking about here.
We're talking about having a conversation. If you show up and you both have made the same character,
That is point 2. Yes, have a conversation.
you got to have a conversation
Figure
about
out how to work it out. Like a lot of problems in role playing games come down to having a conversation. Also,
it. I'm going to tell you right now that if you're playing a game with tight niches and you both show up playing the same niche, no matter how hard you try not to, it's gonna collide.
You're gonna walk
pick
over each
something
other.
else. Take the high road, be the better person, and be like, nope, I'll make my second character idea.
Yeah. Or if you do want to do that, and somebody just has an inferior character to you because of the build or whatever, because that's just the way the game plays, then help them be a better person and bring that character up to snuff so that you can both be in the spotlight at times, or figure out where they fit in and where you fit in and how you guys folks can manage that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's niche encroachment, niche invasion. So here's the last question.
Yes.
How do we get the most out of niches in our game?
Right, because niches aren't bad, right? They're not bad at all.
No, man, what they do is they help focus the genre of the game.
They absolutely do. So, first of all, niches should matter,
Yes.
right? Like, they should be relevant to the game. Now, a good game designer has already done that.
Look at, we talked about Shadowrun. Not Shadowrun. We talked about Cyberpunk 2020.
Yeah.
Look at Shadowrun. All those templates.
Well, careful, because, Shadowrun has the archetypes,
Yeah,
right?
the archetypes, Feng Shui. Those are not classes specifically, but they're archetypes. They guide you to a place, and the titles of them prescribe a kind of play.
Yeah, I mean, playbooks in Dungeon World seriously prescribe play.
They do.
Now, I think one of my favorite examples of that for an Apocalypse World game is the playbooks from Monster of the Week. Like, you can go through those playbooks and just name the shows.
You know, I haven't played it yet.
Right.
I really want to.
But I mean, you just go through and you'd be like, well, that's Buffy.
That's Dean and Sam Winchester.
Exactly. There's
That's Willow.
X-Files.
Yeah,
right.
sure,
There's Willows.
gotcha.
Right. Like, you go right down the line. Like, Monster of the Week playbooks tell you exactly who you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And do it. Okay. So that's make a matter to the genre. And this is important. If you're going to genre drift your game for any reason, and you're playing a game that has niches, you need to consider what your setting, like your genre drifting, is going to do to those niches.
That's right.
Like, if, suddenly magic causes physical burns.
Yeah, that the magic user is going to have some issues.
Right. Like, you better come back and give the magic user something else.
Don't do what I did, which is just make that stuff happen all the time.
Right.
And just ask my players to trust me without talking to them first.
Right. Like, I mean, you're going to have it's a high trust issue thing, right?
It
Otherwise,
is.
you're going to have some really pissed off players.
Correct.
Okay.
Like, I made, when Jem was playing our Second Sons game, I made it so that wizards would blow up at a certain point in time.
Right.
If they didn't deal with it.
Right. Now, that's great if you're sitting down to roll up your characters and you announce, by the way, at some point, wizards blow up. If you're a 6th level wizard and you announce that in game, like, I'm hucking something at you.
Yeah, I didn't announce it in game. I just had to have another wizard.
You are such an ass. Swear to God. I would.
Come on, man. It's a great storytelling beat because, like,
No.
you see somebody else blow up and, like, it's not the first time it's happened and then you hear the
No.
announcement.
No, that's not good.
Oh, it was great.
Bob?
Overruled.
I've been overruled. Okay.
Dick move.
Don't do what I do, okay? It's fine.
That one, I mean, I get it, right? Like, from the GM side, like, I get it. I know what look you got
Hey,
when
man,
that happened.
They were into it.
You had a high trust group.
I did.
You had a high, that group had a high trust. But if I didn't know you well and that happened in the middle of the game, I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I worked all the way up to 6th level and you're telling me, like, a couple bad, like, I rolled 2 1s and I'm gonna fucking blow up.
Pretty much.
Oh my God. Okay, please tell me another reason why niches are good.
Okay. It gives them abilities they can use to create game or genre specific story beats.
Oh God, yes. Like the hacker, man. Like, we know the hacker is going to open up a door somewhere.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, every episode of Leverage, like,
or if there's a hacker, we know there's going to be a hacker versus hacker battle.
somewhere.
Yep.
Or, I mean, the Stranko. That's the one I saw the other day.
That one,
Hot
yeah, that's
hacker on
good.
hacker action.
Hot hacker on hacker action. Nothing like chaos versus.
That's pretty much how I spent my entire teen years in the 80s, watching hot hacker on hacker
God, yeah.
action.
Nothing like chaos versus Hardison,
Oh God. I mean, can I just say as an aside, I was sitting watching that show. Now, before I knew who wrote the show, like who the showrunner was, I'm watching show, and when the evil party shows up, I like fall out of my seat, right?
'Cause
I'm
it's-
like,
yeah.
holy shit. And Florence at the time, she's like, what is it? I'm like, that is an evil party. Like, there is a gamer somewhere on that show. Like, no one makes an evil party character for character. Oh, that's a thing you can do with niches. The evil party.
It is.
Right? You can reflect the niches in the opposition.
And reflect the characters' personalities in the opposition too.
Yeah.
Or get them, whatever. There's a bunch of ways to do it.
Do that.
We should actually talk about. Hey, why don't you pin that?
Ding.
The evil party. We could do a whole
Evil
episode on
Oh
evil
shit!
party.
Can we do an evil party one? God, you're coming up with some really good topics. We're edging towards 250, man.
Yeah.
It's good. We'll just keep-
250 is the martial arts episode. So that's a thing.
Somewhere Jim McClure just went,
Is there anything?
we better get to work.
Is
That's
there,
a lot of edging.
Is there anything else? We want to talk about how to get the most out of niches in games.
Let's.
I got another one.
Yeah,
if you want.
good.
So, I think that you should keep the niches separate, but provide them some crossover so they can fill a role if needed, but never as competently as the intended one. That is me referencing the leverage role playing
Oh
game.
well, I mean that's you referencing the episode of Leverage where they all trade off their.
It is, but that is built into the leverage role playing game.
Yeah, because everyone in the Leverage role playing game takes a primary role and a secondary role.
Yeah.
Right. And to be honest, in Shadowrun, with its open skill system, I may not have the special ability of like say the of the fixer, but I could take all the charisma skills.
You could.
Right? And I could get by in a pinch.
In Dungeons and Dragons, you can have the paladin, you can have the bard, you can have the monk, and then you could have the ranger, and you would have a party that has healing, magic. You have all the stuff that you kind of need.
It'll be a
buffing.
little wonky, but yeah.
Yeah, like they can function.
Yeah.
Right. Get the illusionist instead of the magic user.
I mean, they're like,
where's the
same thing.
fireball? Where's the fireball?
Like, because the
I can
bard,
make it look like there's a fireball.
the bard can do a little bit of both, right? Like, and the monks get a little bit of magical type stuff going on with them, and the ranger gets a little
Quivering
bit of magic
palm.
too. Yeah,
Nobody gets quivering
The
palm.
Dimmock.
Well, that's what it was,
The
right?
mock. It was the
quivering
mock.
palm.
Yeah.
I misunderstood that when I was younger.
I call that like Wednesday night.
Oh man. So with that, good,
right
good
there,
one.
right there, Iverson.
Well done.
Get the quivering palm, and rent something on Cinemax, and
Oh,
I feel like you don't have to do that anymore, right? Like you're good.
aw,
just saying is all.
Oh, okay, just saying.
you don't want to fall out of practice.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, you never give it up completely.
I guess when we've come to the masturbation jokes, it means that the segment is over.
And it's time for us to
Hey,
move on.
How about we check the chat room?
Yeah, let's do that. What's going
Let's
on
do
in the
that.
chat room?
Good
You
Lord.
got anything for me, Bob?
Oh, God.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
we got some stuff here.
What the hell's wrong with us?
Avi the Jackal suggested way back at the beginning that
I
you guys
saw it.
do a garage on Duel of Wits from Burning Wheel.
Oh well, I'd have to actually play Burning Wheel to do that.
I can walk us through it.
You can.
Yeah, I could walk us through.
I
Duel
suppose
Wits.
there's an article somewhere.
No, I mean I can show you, and then we can find an actual play, and you can see it in action. It's
All
cool.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on the list. We'll do it.
Pin it.
Yeah.
Avi also wants to do us to do a breakdown of story beats kind of episode. We're gonna do that in the future too. By the way, pin that. I don't know if I have that scheduled. I thought I had put it.
Story
scheduled.
beats?
Story beats, like how to.
Oh, it's
actually-
on the list somewhere, but
yeah.
put it on. It
How
won't,
to
it
use
won't hurt.
and how to use them
Ding.
in personal stories.
Yeah, we're gonna have to crack open
Story beats
Hamlet's hit
and
points.
personal stories.
Yeah. Is there anything else going on in the chat room?
Yeah. GM Gerrymander said, hey, okay, what about games that focus more on non-combat? Are niches as important in those? I've had Mechton and heavy gear games with players who didn't like to get into the mechs and gears. It was all other stuff.
I never played either of those games. Right.
Right.
Two, if they didn't want to get in the mechs, why are you playing that game?
Well, but
I mean,
let's,
that's my first.
but let's be
question.
clear.
That's my second question.
If everyone's playing in a mech
Yeah.
and you're the guy who's not, that's your niche,
It's true.
right? Like if your job
True.
is ambassador and the rest of those guys are blowing the city up and you go in to make the negotiation to make them stop, that's your niche.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming that game is okay for that.
Well-
Like, if you can get around it with that, that's fine.
I mean, here's the thing: when you are I think what you were alluding to is you're going off genre,
Yeah.
right? Like you're playing Mechton and it's mechs, and you're not in a mech. You're off genre.
I got an answer for this. by
Please,
the
go
way.
ahead.
So you do still have a niche in a game like that because we're talking about political influence and conversations.
If that's in your game,
Well, I mean, I think that's what he's referencing. They're doing stuff outside of that, right?
and that's what you need to then, as a GM, make sure that you provide.
Yeah. So your sphere of influence becomes your niche.
Yes.
That is where your niche is.
Now-
because those are the people that you have influence over and can affect.
Right. Now, here's where the problem lies. If we have two people that are outside the mech and the skill system is not robust, then we're going to wind up overlapping heavily. If the skill system is robust, then it can be like, well, you're the great negotiator and I'm like the intelligence, like military intelligence tactician, right? Because there are skills that, like, you take those skills, I'll take these skills. You be charisma, I'll be intelligence.
Yeah.
But if there aren't a lot of those skills, then
Yeah.
we can't, because what we need for niche is we need a line that defines, like, this is me, that's
Yeah.
you.
So like I also like I don't if they're doing stuff that's not involved with the mechs, I don't know what the game's about. Like I need a little bit more
Yeah, I know.
information.
I just
about
kind of
that.
winged that.
That's why I did the other thing that I did too. Like you're right. Like that means when you're dealing with the military intelligence stuff, you can do your thing. When it talks about like calming people down or getting things that you need, or negotiating for whatever you need, you
Yeah.
use the negotiator. The other thing that leads to more of a social game like that is that you need spheres of influence. Like,
Yes.
who do you have influence with? Who owes you favors? Things like that.
Right. So, from a mechanical point of view, we can have niches if we have enough varied skills, abilities, or whatever that we can buy to make something that's us.
Yeah.
Right. Like I can if let's say we're playing GURPS, right, an open system.
Sure.
And we're playing this mech game in GURPS, right? And I don't want to be in a mech, right? Because everyone else is in a mech, but I want to be the military intelligence guy. Like I want to be the battlefield commander.
Sure.
Okay. So now I got to look at like what's available, and I can say like, all right, I'm gonna take these skills, I'm gonna take these abilities, and I'm gonna pull this together. This is my tactician niche.
Yeah. Whatever. And that role is really like, how can I boost or buff my companions? You're playing the support role.
Right. So what you have to do is you basically collect it together, and then you got to declare like during character generation, like, look, this is my niche. I'm gonna make this military intelligence guy. I'm gonna take these skills or whatever, because somebody else might be like, oh, I'm gonna take tactics too, and be like, well, you can take tactics too, but I'm gonna take it higher. Plus, I'm gonna take these other things to boost it.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm going to give you one more thing from GM Jerry Mander here, and
Hey,
then
Jerry.
we can move on. He said that their game was about an actor, an explorer, a scientist, a special effects artist, a singer, a flying monkey cat, and a pizza delivery boy trying to save the universe.
Sounds like an anime.
Holy shit! I want to play this game,
Yeah. That sounds like an anime.
and I want to be the pizza delivery boy.
Yeah, I want to be a special effects artist.
Yeah.
That'd
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah, he said that the Mechton can also simulate crazy action anime. It's anime Cyberpunk 2020.
Yeah.
So they use the mechs as scenery for the most
So
part.
I mean, then we're drawing on the anime tropes, right? So they're
Yeah.
not using the mechs as like the things to go on their adventures. They're
Yeah.
they're just playing like adventure stories with these characters.
Right.
Yep.
So here's my challenge. Right. Like, what is the
I could do this. You want me to do this? So the actor's the face, right?
Yep. Okay. Good.
The explorer is your point man, your person who knows things
Got
about traveling.
Yep. Scientist, smart.
Yep. Scientists are smart. They can also like they know things about like alien life forms and whatnot.
I'm with you. Special effects artist is going to be like your wizard.
Right.
Right.
Except more of illusionist.
Okay. Singer's charm.
Yep.
Okay. Flying monkey cat.
A flying monkey cat is well. So every anime has the cute animal, right?
Of course.
So they're usually sassy, witty, and they usually have a high luck score. So they're like the wild card.
Okay.
Like you never
Yeah. The flying monkey cat comes out of nowhere, knocks over a thing.
knocks over a thing,
Yep.
saves the day at the last second for no apparent reason other than they're the flying monkey cat, or like at least gives somebody else a chance to save the
Oh,
day.
I got this last one.
Uh-huh.
Pizza delivery boy is like the innocent person who got swept up in this whole thing, and they're experiencing the world through shock and awe and like what's going on.
And they're the ones that are going to have the growth arc that turns them into something more than what they are.
Right.
Maybe
Like
they
you're
even-
not just a pizza boy, Jimmy. You have a special ability.
And they can be
Yeah.
the anchor to reality for that perspective from all the crazy stuff that's going on
Yes.
everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're basically the contrast, right?
Yeah.
Like these giant mechs are running around. Like, well, of course they are,
Also-
Jimmy. Like,
Also, if they're the pizza delivery boy, that
They
means
got
they
pizza.
drive. That
Yeah.
means they're the pilot.
okay, and they got pizza. I
Yes,
mean,
pizza.
that's got to be a boost, right? Like if I was a team and somebody kept showing up with pizza, like they'd be special.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the thing where we do the thing.
All right. So there we go. We did it.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Okay. I
So
don't know how
proud of
close we
us.
were, but we did it.
Okay.
There's points. There's many much points.
And a diamond.
And a diamond.
Thank you.
Do I have a diamond? Oh, sorry. And
Diamonds
Bob-
are a
Bob
podcast's
has one
best
for you.
friend.
Oh, hey, awesome.
Nice. I want you to break out into song right now, but that's okay.
Because diamonds are a podcaster's best friend.
Very nice.
Thanks.
This edition of Waveform Theater is brought to you by Pandas Talking Games.
It's tough to get a fill waveform theater. It only happens once, like every 5 or 6 episodes.
You guys were ridiculous in the last extras. They were pretty funny.
Was it the Murder Bears?
I don't remember if the Murder Bears were in there. It was pretty hilarious though. All right, so let's talk about the Get Healthy section. All right, so our total weight change as a community this past week was 4 pounds. Nice. Some people weren't popping in their changes. In the future, if everybody could please try to pop in their changes, or at least they're starting and
Helps the numbers.
Their last weeks in their currents, it helps me do the math because I can't do the math if I don't have the math to do the math.
Mathing
Okay.
is hard.
All right. Here's our healthy tip of the week. This one's from Randy Farmer, and I am just keep putting your healthy tips in there. I'm just pulling them from previous weeks. This is actually from the first time we did this too.
Go ahead.
Randy Farmer, he said this is his strategy. Keep 0 snacks in the house. Fruit is okay, but no snacks in the house. Try to walk 10,000 steps a day, and then he splits restaurant portions with his wife when they eat out.
That's legit.
Yeah, that's a good move. I do that a lot.
I mean, I'll say 0 snacks. Like, I can't do it because I have kids, but snacks are at a minimum in this house. What helped me was when calorie counting, I couldn't eat snacks, right? I mean, I could have like a snack, but you couldn't like midnight snack because you were like, got to put that in the numbers.
Yeah.
But until I got out of that habit, it was really hard. I'll tell you what's not in this house or ever will be, unless I've completely gone off the deep end, Oreos.
Yeah.
Oreos, because I measure Oreos in portion size by sleeve. Right? Like,
What's a serving of Oreos? This row?
this row and this glass of milk. Until this glass of milk is empty, these Oreos are getting eaten. To combat that, I sometimes just use like a really tiny glass of milk, but you can just keep fucking dipping into that little milk.
You kind of
Like,
can. Yeah.
You have to drink. If I have to stop eating Oreos, I have to drink the milk
Yeah, that happens.
because I won't eat them without the milk. It's like, never mind.
All right, here we go. Current Kickstarters. I wanted to bring this one up. The Midgard campaign setting, Dark Roads and Deep Magic from Cold Bob Press is going on right now. It funded in like 3 hours, and now it's I think at like $50,000 or $45,000.
I've heard some things about that Cobalt Press. They're all right,
They're
right?
pretty good. Yeah,
They're pretty good, right?
They might be arguably the best third-party publisher of Pathfinder and D&D materials on the face of the planet.
I've heard some
The
things. I've
Midgard
heard-
campaign setting is no
heard some things about
crappy
them.
setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there. By the way, an interview with Wolfgang Barr came out today.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, on Down with D&D, who is the Cobalt in Chief. In
Nice.
fact.
Did you ask him why he's never invited me to write on one of those complete books?
Of course, I didn't ask him that.
I've asked him that.
Yeah, I know you did. So why do you need me to answer it?
Well, I mean, I didn't get a satisfactory answer.
Oh, okay.
Should have hit him up with that surprise question.
That's fine.
Be like,
Yeah,
why is
I
my
get
man Vecchio not writing an essay?
Now, do you realize that Cobalt Press has an open submissions policy? Like, you could just submit whatever you want.
Yeah, but you don't know which ones they're putting together for those complete guides.
That's
Like,
true. That's true. But, that's where they get their writers from, so just throwing it out there. All right. The rewards for the Midgard Kickstarter include 3 primary books, plus a slew of thrilling adventures and crunchy expansions. Here's what the core rewards are. So there's the Midgard campaign setting, a 300-page volume describing the Midgard regions. There's the Midgard's Heroes Handbook for 5th edition and also for Pathfinder, which I'm not going to talk about the Pathfinder one because I'm picking a hard stance here. I'm not really a Pathfinder fan. It's just the way it is. That game is fine. I'm just not a fan of it.
I'm with you.
All right. The 5th edition version of the Heroes Handbook, it gives full details for Midgard races, variants, archetypes, and backgrounds. You also get more than a dozen new cleric domains, new weapons and equipment, and deep magic spells and traditions such as clockwork magic and leyline magic. If they hit a bunch of stretch goals, they'll even add more deep magic to the book. Those are the 3 primary books, but there's a deep magic standalone, so if they get enough money, which it looks like they will, that means the book gets too big to print. So they have to print another separate book.
Well, okay.
Yeah. So they're going to take all the spells and the traditions and the deep magic stuff and put it in its own book by itself.
Sure, that's legit.
And then there's a possibility, which will probably happen, of a book called Eldritch Layers, which is a series of short 5th edition adventures written by James Hake and other designers.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Looks pretty awesome.
Hey, I know we got some cool other Kickstarters we're going to talk about starting next week.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. I see the one I'm looking for.
You're looking for SIG?
I was looking
We'll
for
get there.
I was looking for SIG, but never mind. You took care of it. Thanks,
did.
Chris.
It's in the IDGN Spotlight. We'll get there soon.
All right. Sorry.
So we have a iTunes review. It's the first one we've had in a while. It's new. And I like to
Nice.
read these when they happen. It's a 5-star review.
Whoa.
It's from Knight Errant Jr. He said, or she said, I'm not sure. For me, there isn't a more compelling RPG discussion podcast going at the moment. The variety of topics is great, and these topics tend to be upper-level topics, ones that tend to transcend specific game systems and are more about actually gaming. The strategic approach taken to the discussion is great, as is the chemistry between the show's hosts. It's something I look forward to every week. That was very nice.
Wow, that's very nice. Thank
Yeah,
you very
thank
much.
you very much for that review.
Yeah.
And see, I read these. I'm going to read one every week. So if you got a review for us on Misdirected Mark, not the mega feed.
Don't
Misdirected Mark.
put it on the mega
Don't
feed.
put it on the mega feed. On Misdirected Mark
Right.
podcast,
Yes.
I will read it. All right. Next thing, Toby Sennett. When to put serious time into developing a game? This is from our community.
Yeah.
Serious kind of thought. When should one start investing real time into developing a game? I, like many, have a collection of thoughts and ideas for RPGs. I wouldn't be looking to lay out 300 pages, but to quote from a recent discussion, real artists ship. I'm sure at least one or two of my ideas have legs even if just as free download or one-page games, but knocking them into shape, presenting them as complete enough entities that I'd be happy sharing with them would take time and work, of course. Do you have any specific criteria that could help guide the selection process, or is it one of those things that can only be learned by doing?
Okay. I got some feels.
I do too, but go ahead.
First thing I'm going to say is, so it absolutely takes work, right? And some of it is unfun.
And a ridiculous skill set to do it by yourself.
Right. Now, you can get that skill set.
You can.
But here's what I'm going to say. There's a book you should go buy. Like at the moment where you think, like, maybe I should be a game designer and make a game, there's a book you should get. And I think I've lent it to Chris, and Chris has read it, called The War of Art.
Mm-hmm.
Right? By
I don't remember who wrote it.
Preston. Bob's going to look it up. It's called The War of Art. And it talks about going pro. Right? It talks about the difference between an amateur and a professional. In terms of, and the biggest distinction is a professional. Now, in this guy's case, he's talking about writing.
Yep.
A professional.
Stephen Pressfield.
Stephen Pressfield, thank you. He wrote Bagger Vance, Tales of Bagger Vance. What it talks about is a professional gets up to write no matter how not in the mood they are to write. And I would say that if you're serious about getting into design and serious about turning these things into products, this is the mindset you got to have, because there's a whole lot of game design stuff and publishing that's not fun.
Yeah.
I will cite my least favorite activity, which we performed this weekend, the final read through of a book. I often, as you do as well.
Luckily, the book was so much fun to read.
Yes, at least the book was entertaining. But we all bemoan that final read through.
I detested.
Right. I detested as well. And I sit there, and this time I sat with my fidget cube in one hand and like sat there reading, like, you know, gripping the fidget cube. Like, God, I can't, like, I just want this thing to be done.
Yeah.
Right.
I thrive on that shit. That's
that
groove,
is your
baby.
bread and butter.
That's my groove.
I mean, I'm like designer, right? Like I'm trying to throw this shit over the wall and get rid of it. And it keeps coming back. But my point being is that there's a hard work aspect to getting this stuff done. And this happens. So I'll say this to you, because you and I have had this experience where we've met people and they're like, oh, I got a game. I'm going to make this game.
Yeah.
And like you and I look at them and are like, all right, good luck.
Yeah.
But you know, like if you don't see that, there's a certain level of fire. There's a certain level of, I'm going to drag this miserable manuscript through editing for the 10th time, and I don't care. And I don't mean to be discouraging, but it's going to feel discouraging if you start working on it and then just kind of put it down.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, Bob, before Encoded started, like you messed around with other game designs.
Oh, yeah.
But they never really kind of took, right? Like it was the group that kind of, like as a group effort, like we started pushing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we pushed Relic Hunters.
Once I had Encoded behind me, it was a completely different ball game.
Right. Now, I mean, we always say,
I'm not saying that you need a team.
No.
That you
But
you
it
can't
doesn't-
design alone, but it's
certainly a lot
Even
better.
if you don't have a team that's helping you physically work on design development,
Have a team that's
whatever,
in your corner.
Yeah.
have people in your corner, have the Mickey to your Rocky,
Yeah.
you're going to eat lightning and craft thunder,
Somebody's passing you spoons.
Yeah.
Because there are some disheartening parts of this.
yeah.
And I say do it.
So here he said,
Yeah.
do you have any specific criteria that should help the selection process?
All right, go ahead.
So first off, whatever game that you love the most, that's the one you do, regardless of how it is received by other people. Like it's the one that you love.
Yes.
That matters because you have to stare at this thing a lot.
It's going to help you, right?
Yeah.
It's going to help you drag this thing over the finish line.
Here is the skill set that you need. You need to be able to know how to write. You need to be able to know how to organize information.
Yep.
You need to be able to know how to edit, proofread, layout, and then
Acquire art.
acquire art,
Or make art.
or make art. And then you need to be able to figure out where to put your game so people can get it.
Right. Or for all the pieces of that list that you can't do yourself, you got to go find somebody.
Yeah, and either pay them money or get them to help you, and then split the profits or
Right.
whatever.
I mean, here's the thing about Encoded, right? Encoded is a collection of all those skill sets.
Yeah.
And the deal is, and we haven't talked about this in a long time, but the deal with Encoded is everybody gets to bring their pet project.
Yep.
Like we have a strategic direction, but we're not Cobalt Press, right? Like Cobalt Press is a very defined niche.
Yeah.
Talking about niches.
Yep.
Kobold Press has a very defined niche, right? They make D&D and Pathfinder adventures.
They do. Oh, not just adventures. Material, supplements,
Correct.
and adventures, but mostly supplements.
Encoded makes all sorts of shit.
We do
Right? Like
now.
we make D&D stuff, we make board games, we make, and that's not that we don't have a focus, but the deal is we all lend each other our talents to help advance each other's projects.
Correct.
And so that means that we have you and Merwin, which means we have a D&D line.
Correct.
We have Bob, which means
We have
we
board
do
games
board
and card
games. Yeah. So,
We have me, so everybody kind of helps out with podcasts.
right. And so the point being is that if you can't figure out how to do it yourself, find people or hire people. Hire people is going to require capital.
Yep.
Find people. If you can trade your talents to help out. If you can edit and you can find somebody who can do layout, like trade.
And we're talking about editing, not proofing. If you can proof, then proof.
God, whatever it is.
Whatever you got.
And then be honest. If you can't do one of these things on the list,
Yeah.
like I can't proof or edit.
I am
ever.
not good enough to do it, and you should never edit or proof your own stuff anyway.
Right. So you should find somebody else for those
Yeah.
anyway. But like you can lay out.
I can.
I can do cover design and I can do character sheets, but I can't lay out yet. I just never learned.
I
But
can even do cover design these days now and all that
yeah,
stuff.
you're getting
It's
pretty
just,
sharp.
It's just
Well-
effort and work. But remember, I've been doing layout for 6 years now.
Right.
Like
And-
practicing.
And work is the word. Like, and I don't mean to be a downer, but there's some really fun parts to this, like running your game for people for the first time and they love it.
Yeah.
And then there's times where a rule is broken and you're staring at the screen and you're like pounding your head on the desk, like, why won't the solution come to this rule?
That
Like,
happens.
why am I'm forever going to be stuck with this broken damn rule set?
Or if you and your cohort are going back and forth, just yelling about the thing that you're trying to make, like
Yes.
that happens.
Yeah. I mean, there are some, it's not as bad now, but like, even up to Part-Time Gods of Fate, like there were a few moments where you and I are just like, what the fuck, Chris? Like, why? No, not that. This. No, not this, that. Like back and forth.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway. Okay.
That is,
And maybe
that is,
maybe that's a thing we, maybe that's the thing we do at a future topic is talk about
making games.
making games or like going pro.
Sure. Put a
I mean,
pin on it.
I
Ding.
think technically we're professional. I have to declare it on my taxes, right? That's
Oh,
professional.
you got paid.
Yeah, I got
As
paid.
soon as you get paid, you're a pro.
Yeah.
I have to fill out taxes for it this year. So, I did last year too, but more this year. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to the next thing, which the next thing is the IDGN Spotlight, which is SIG, the Manual of the Planes. So this is a Kickstarter that's going on right
I'm
now
sorry,
also.
Chris. Not planes.
Primes.
Primes.
Sorry. I get confused because...
It looks like Manual of the Planes when you first look at it, and it's
that's
like,
that's
whoa.
copyrighted. Sorry.
Yeah.
SIG, the Manual of the Primes. I apologize, Jason. So, SIG, the Manual of the Primes, is a cosmopolitan planner fantasy tabletop role-playing game. Like other games in this genre, it presents a diverse city and the challenges of culture clash. It's a setting that juxtaposes planner magics with urban drama. It offers players the opportunity to travel the planes of existence and explore the prime worlds. So this game, it uses a modified version of the Spark game system, which was created by Jason Pitt or Petray, depending on what day you catch him on. It's about as Planescape as you can get without being Planescape. So if you like Planescape, you should just go take a look. One of the cool things is that the different areas of existence, these different planes, they dock and undock with the city. And when they do, they change the actual city, creating these cultural situations and clashes to deal with. And to hear more about this game, in the next couple of days, I will have an interview out with Jason. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, I interviewed him like a month ago. It's just been waiting to go up for the Kickstarter to start. All right, there we go.
You know what? I honestly, I had it open in a tab today, and I was like, oh, I got to go look at this thing so I can go back it.
Yeah.
And I hadn't had time at work to watch it yet, so like I sense my backing is imminent.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of money right now, but even for $1, Jason was kind enough to send me a copy of the digital copy of the game. So
No, he's-
I'll actually be able to read through it. And
He's a
let
straight
people
up
know.
guy.
He is.
I like that guy quite a bit.
Because I backed it for $1.
Yeah. No,
Because I wanted to keep track of it.
no. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to back this game.
All right, let's do a few Patreon shoutouts. Randy Farmer, thank you so much. Danny Silva and Corey Johnston, you are all excellent human beings, and we thank you greatly for backing
Yes.
Misdirected Mark Productions, Down with D&D, Misdirected Mark podcast, and She's a Super Geek. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very, very much.
Yeah. All right. Last segment of the show. New thing. Don't really have a bumper for it just yet, although I did make this. It's called the podcast review.
Recognize Umbra Walker D01. Recognize the Caleb G D02.
Oh my God, that's so good.
I know, right?
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
So that's Maddie. That's Maddie Ray. That's the computer voice.
Okay.
And we're talking about Whelm, the Young Justice Files. That is Rich Howard and the Caleb G's Young Justice podcast. They talk about everything Young Justice. I love it. It's so good. So this is what their show does. They have 4 different kinds of shows. They have episode reviews, they have discussions, they have secret origins, and they have intel updates. So the episode reviews are reviewing episodes of Young Justice. They're currently up to episode 12 right now. Every episode, they do a bunch of segments. The first one is called Hello, Megan. This is high-level info in the episode.
Hello, Megan.
Yeah, they do it. Hello, Megan. They even have the sound effect.
Oh,
it's great.
Okay.
They usually hit the title, the director, the writer, and other little interesting tidbits about the show, the release date, things like that, because the release schedule got really messed up in Young Justice. Then they do Mission Briefing, which is a detailed breakdown of the episode, like the events that happen.
So I got to be really careful which ones I watch now. Okay.
Yeah, you do. But they come out in order, right? So like,
Yeah, so I can go up to a point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel the Aster, which is opinions on the episode. Then they do a Canary debrief, which is they're talking about the aspects of the episode that play into the larger meta plot without spoiling things too much.
Nice.
And then they do Crashing the Mode, which is where they just spoil the shit out of everything.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
I got to
man.
stop. I got to
Yeah.
skip those parts.
And every one of the episodes these days is timestamped. So you can just look and stop where you need to stop.
Perfect.
Then there are discussion episodes where Rich has a guest on to discuss some aspect of Young Justice, such as being a new fan or legacy, the Young Justice video game. They just did that episode. It was really cool. I need to go find the cutscenes for that. Our own Darcy Ross was on one of these episodes. So you should go check that out because it's Darcy talking about being a new fan of Young Justice. Because there's a period of time where Darcy was live tweeting her watching of Young Justice.
Oh, sweet.
Yep. Then they have Secret Origins episodes. These are episodes which talk about the lore and history of a character in Young Justice as they relate to the DC universe. The one on Calderon is really great on Calder because that Aqualad is not the Aqualad from the comics.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
In
it's-
any way, shape, or form, really.
Yeah, no, it's such a good character,
Yeah.
too.
And then the last kind of episode that they have are Intel updates because Rich and Caleb, they record all these episodes like really far in advance. So these help let the listeners know what's up with the show and what's going on because, you know, they had to do one when they announced season 3 of Young Justice. All right. So that's the kind of stuff you're going to get with our podcast reviews now. Like we're going to talk about what these podcasts are and what they do. And I love the Whelm, the Young Justice Files. It's a great show.
First of all, I love the name.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's
Like
fantastic.
Like I mean, they hit everything great. Like the B01.
Yeah.
Right. Like
the podcast, not the podcast, the website is crashingthemode.net, I think.
So good. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll have a link in the show notes if you want to go check it out, folks.
So we can just you and I are just gonna pick podcasts and break them down.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Discern Realities next week. All right.
Oh my God, you know how much I love that podcast.
All right. So let's get out of here. That was a good show. I enjoyed that. Everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. If you're listening out in Listenerland,
Yeah.
And if you're in the chat room, we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, guys, if you're
Or gals. Beat me to it.
I'm invading your niche all over the place.
All over
tonight.
the place.
If you're free on Tuesday evenings, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 6:45 p.m. the Queen's time, you're welcome. Come join us live on Twitch where you can chat with our other awesome listeners in the chat room for life. And occasionally you can even ask us questions about the show.
Yeah. If you cannot make it to the live show, check out our podcast each week wherever you get your podcasts. And take a listen to some of the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, such as Down with D&D, Threats from Gallifrey, Advantaged Insight, Pandas Talking Games, Cypher Speak with Darcy and Troy, The Gnome Cast, The Streets of Avalon, and the newest and probably last show for a while that is coming to the Misdirected Mark Network, Hobbs, and the Friends of the OSR. You can and should also check out some of our brother and sister podcasts, She's a Super Geek, Talking Tabletop, Knights of the Night, and the always amazing Gaming and BS.
After you have listened to the show, by all means, please leave us feedback. We like to be reached all over the place on the internet, starting with emails. Chris at misdirectedmark.com.
That's me.
Phil at misdirectedmark.com.
Sup?
Bob at misdirectedmark.com.
He's over there.
check out our Facebook group. Hit us up on Twitter at MisdirectedMark for the show. But you can find us individually at DNA Phil, at Robert M. Everson, at The Light 101.
That's me. Where you can get your smooth jazz.
And then
Postmodern Jukebox jazz all day long.
Yes. And then take a Zeta tube to the center of our social media community, the G Plus community that we maintain.
Also known as a Boom Tune at times.
Yeah.
If you like what we do here and on the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, specifically Down with D&D, this show right here, the Misdirected Mark podcast, and I almost said the wrong show, Pandas Talking Games, you can patron our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMP. Patrons get access to the after show, pre-production show notes, musical parodies, the Pandas Talking Game bonus outtakes, and our bi-weekly D&D releases. And since we didn't play Rock and Roll Play Baby by Kieran Strange on the album Adamantium Heart, which you will not find because there will be no link in the show notes.
But go listen to it anyway. It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
This has been a Misdirected Mark production, the media arm of Encoded Designs. Mic drop!
We out!